Justice, you know what I saw yesterday at Electrify America for the very first time?
A working pump.
Well, actually, there was a first when it came to the operation of the site itself, but no, I saw a BMW iX.
Oh, nice, nice.
Um,
I don't
I,
think I've seen one in person.
I figured over there in California with higher median incomes, you might had seen some iXs around. I had seen an i4 before, but my takeaway with the iX was I loved the interior so much. Exterior wasn't as ugly as it looks on pictures to me with the beaver face that it's got going on, but I love the interior. Like, wow, it was very lucid. Like, yeah, it's pretty awesome. So I'm gonna go ahead and share some images of that for our viewers. But how's everyone doing this morning? Everyone doing okay? How are you, Justice?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. I'm in such the throes of trying to figure out what to do for my next vehicle. I have two choices now,
Hmm.
two brand new choices. So I'm just trying to figure it all out here.
Oh, so do you care to share with us or not yet?
Let's get to the BMW
Okay.
and then I'll
Okay.
share. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, the BMW iX, it's kind of along the lines of our theme for today's live show, which is EV affordability or EV inaffordability. Okay, because the iX is not cheap, but it's a BMW. So what do you really expect, right? Um, Range and charging. Let's see what BMW has to share with us. Um, Up to 324 miles on the iX xDrive 50 and the so-called base model, if there's ever such a thing with the iX, would be 288 miles. Perhaps that could be a reduction with all-wheel drive. I'm not quite sure, but that's what it looks like. You guys let me know in the chat. Do you think it's got a pretty face? I don't, but I want to show you guys what the interior looks like this. That screen looked a whole lot cooler in person. It's so thin. I'm talking like it reminded me of my laptop's thin screen. So it's pretty cool. Very awesome resolution. I loved it. It was minimalist, but not too minimalist, and just looked like pure luxury. Now, what's the price start at? Let's see. Shop inventory. Let's see what BMW points us towards.
That steering wheel is interesting. Flat bottom, just like a pentagon almost.
Yeah, it's almost too flat. Yeah, because I have a flat bottom steering wheel in my Ioniq 5, but it is not that flat. It's a much shorter flat area down here, and it does not bother me. But yeah, that one is a little bit interesting. Um, you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna go over to Yaa Car Search right now because we're gonna be using this tool a few times in today's live show to look at EV prices. Let's see what we could find a BMW iX for right now. I'm curious because I really liked this vehicle. Can't afford it, but I liked it. There you go. About 100 grand, give or take. Out the door price, maybe over 100 grand. It's a luxury electric SUV. What do you expect, right?
Yeah, from BMW. I mean, they kind of know what they're doing in the making the vehicles. So
Let's see. What about the
that doesn't surprise me.
i4? The electric sedan from BMW. A whole lot cheaper. Sarcasm. $75,000 for the electric i4 from BMW. And who knows, if you called half these dealerships, perhaps there would be a markup that is not advertised on their online prices. But here at Yaa Car Search, we try to do our very best to give you the out the door price, but there's nothing we can do to force the dealerships to share their secret dealer markups with us. But yeah.
BMW is not bad right now. BMW dealers are not being too sneaky right now. Every once in a while you'll find some, but they're being pretty straightforward the last couple of weeks,
Yeah,
which is nice.
that is true. Now I had a
Still
question.
$100,000, but
Yeah, 100 grand. You got a picture behind you, Justice. You want to share with us what the picture is behind you?
yeah. So these are my two choices I'm trying to decide between. Here we have the Cadillac Celestiq EV. Oh nope, that one right there, coming in at just over $300,000. And then my other option I'm trying to figure out is the Rolls-Royce Spectre here,
Hmm.
coming in at just $350,000.
Yeah, so let us know in the chat.
So
Would you rather have a Cadillac or a Rolls-Royce if it was for the same price?
yeah,
That's the
I think
dilemma we're looking at.
Cadillac might be shooting themselves in the foot coming out, going up head to head with Rolls Royce. But that's just me. Maybe somebody out there thinks, nah, I'll never buy a Rolls Royce. Cadillac's it for me.
Yeah, well, I was curious. What is the most expensive Cadillac on the market in the United States today? And it's a $127,000 Cadillac Escalade premium luxury four-wheel drive. So Cadillac is looking to go from 127 grand tops to what's the price on that new Celestiq?
300,000 base.
Wow, 300,000 base. I saw someone said, quote, north of 350.
Yeah, that's what I'm seeing. Yeah, north of 350, and the Rolls is 350,000 base, north of 413.
So that's what, like 120% increase in the price range in
Yeah,
Cadillac's lineup. That is amazing. I'd go with the Rolls-Royce hands down. But hey, maybe up in Michigan they're just really into Cadillacs. I don't know. I've never been to Michigan. Should ask Phil, one of our
yeah.
auto
Well,
experts.
see which one he's going to get into here. I know the Cadillac's got a 300-mile range, so I don't know what the Rolls has in it.
Yeah. And Leon in the chat says that there was a Rolls-Royce guy on TV that he saw that said the Rolls was going to go for over 400,000. But hey,
Yeah,
if you can afford this, what's an extra 50,000, right? Like,
yeah, it's 350 to 413 for some reason. Very specific number, thousand. Yeah,
yep. And Learning Fast in the chat says that in Learning Fast's opinion, the Caddy is the ugliest car that they've ever seen. Interesting. Well, what's on your mind, Justice, other than used EV prices, which we're about to dive into in a few minutes?
Well, there's a lots of stuff that has come out in the last couple of days. You got, I thought it was interesting. The CEO of Foxconn came out and said that he wants to start making Teslas, and their plan is to try to partner with them. No word from Tesla on it at all. Elon hasn't said a word, but they want to target a 5% market share globally in the EV market, and they think they can do that by helping Tesla make their vehicles. So that's interesting.
That is
We,
interesting. I wonder if Tesla could use the help considering the high demand and perhaps, I don't know, the limited production capacity. They did just open Giga Austin, but maybe Foxconn has more supply contracts secured for chips and batteries and stuff that Tesla needs, even though Tesla has the space. I don't know, but that is
yeah, I mean,
fascinating.
it's interesting because I know we all think Apple Car coming out of Foxconn,
Yeah.
but that's been around for a while. That rumor. Um, so it would be interesting to see if Tesla will partner with someone to do some out of house building.
Yes. Now, did you see this announcement from Foxconn that they are going to build an electric crossover and an electric truck? It is quite petite. It is not a full-sized electric truck. But I wanted to ask you, Justice, do you recall if this electric truck would be destined for the U.S. market? I don't remember.
I thought it was not,
It
but I
doesn't
could be
look like it
wrong. But
would be,
yeah,
to be frank.
but I didn't think it was. I thought it was a European truck.
Yeah, I think
You
so
know,
too.
you know how they get all the little other vehicles.
Yeah. Yeah, but those tiny narrow streets and whatnot. But let's talk EV prices. And
Yeah.
we're going to have a focus on used EV prices, okay? New research out of Recurrent Auto. If you guys don't know who Recurrent Auto is, they are pioneering the space of basically battery management system Carfax, which is awesome because this is greatly needed for the future of used EV buying, right? So I'm going to go ahead and pull up their site. Recurrent Auto, we had their CEO on our show a few months ago, and that was an amazing interview. I'll make sure and drop a link to that down below. I highly recommend it because he really explained it way better than I could. Of course, it's his company, but looking at, well, they're not just looking at it. They already have products that you guys can access right now if you have an electric vehicle to basically monitor your EV's battery health over time. It gives you useful information on the status of your battery's health, like, oh no, am I getting close to the warranty limit of, I don't know, 70-80% battery remaining, uh, original battery life remaining? Am I getting close to the end of my warranty? Should I start contacting the dealer about possibly getting a battery replacement before I have to pay for it myself? That type of information can be useful to the consumer, but it's most important if you ever decide to sell your electric vehicle. The prospective buyer would be able to have a lot of important questions answered by simply looking at your Recurrent Auto data, which has tracking capabilities for looking at the battery management system. We can dive into that in a bit, but we're going to focus today on Recurrent Auto's used EV prices market report. Now, the headline summary right here: used EV prices begin to decline slowly. Big emphasis on slowly. Big
Yes.
emphasis. Big emphasis on slowly. Hardly a decline at all. But the good news is EV prices on the used market front did not increase in September. I have my own thoughts for how this might have happened, but we'll get into that in a second. So let me go over the nitty gritties here from Recurrent Auto. I'm just going to quote them. It says they track popular used EV models from 2017 to 2019 model years, and they saw a modest decline since July. Used EV prices down about 2.9% to an average of $37,597. It says, quote, however, the average price of all used EV listings has not yet dropped and is $42,700 after hovering above $42,000 since March. So they're specifically saying that 2017 to 2019 model year EVs have seen a modest decline since July. But overall, if you include every used electric vehicle on the market, used EV prices have not yet dropped. The difference can be explained by the continued presence of new used cars in the used EV market. Boom. That summarizes the problem right here. Justice, you want to explain just in your own words, what is the new used car phenomenon that we're seeing?
Flippers.
Flippers.
People who buy them, drive them for 100 miles, and then try to sell them for more than they bought them for. So flippers are the ones who kept the price up a lot.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of EV YouTubers, not me, I'm keeping my Ioniq 5 for at least a couple of years, maybe longer. A lot of EV YouTubers do that very, very often. I'm talking like 5 times a year. They buy a car, they say they love it, they bought it, so it's theirs, but then they sell it 2,000 miles later. So
lots of that going on, and that drove up the prices. There was a long stretch there where most Model 3s you could buy used were far, far more than just going to Tesla and buying one.
Yeah. I know that if you buy a used Model 3 today, it's going to cost you about the same as buying a brand new one, right?
Yep. They're very, very close to the same price. Just the used one, you don't have to wait, so you're paying for time.
Yes, that is true. So very, very interesting data from Recurrent Auto. Let's see what else we can find in here before we head over to YAA's own electric vehicle price site. And we've got some data of our own that I want to share with you guys, more focused on new EV prices. So it says the chart below shows the recurrent price index since January of 2022, along with the price trends for 4 all-electric under $25,000 models that are likely to be affected by the used EV credit and the new Inflation Reduction Act's revisions. So the used EVs that they say can be found for under 25 grand are the 2017 Chevy Bolt, 2019 Fiat 500e, 2016 Volkswagen e-Golf, and the 2015 Nissan Leaf. So this shows how their prices have changed over the past 2 years, or actually it's 1 year, over the past 14 months or so. So they call it starting to decline. I say to be generous. I mean, as generous as you could get with this kind of data is leveling off, not really starting to decline.
The fiat seems to be coming down more than most. The others seem to be more just flattening out. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. That is true. Very, very interesting stuff here. Now, they say the looming impact of the Inflation Reduction Act should not be overlooked because remember that starting in 2023, there will be the option of a used EV tax credit, which is good for $4,000 or up to 30% of, I'm sorry, up to 30% of the purchase price of a qualified used EV with a maximum credit of $4,000. So what that means is it's generally going to be $4,000 because there are going to be very few scenarios where a used electric vehicle is so cheap that you actually have to cap it at 30%. It's $4,000. But there are some pretty strict requirements. Most notably, in order to qualify for the new used EV tax credit, the price is capped at $25,000. As you just saw in their chart right here on Recurrent Auto, there are very few options under $25,000. You get some more options when you start to look at plug-in hybrids.
Yeah.
Which that's good. There's more options with plug-in hybrids for under $25,000, but for fully electrics, looks like 4 options. It's not a lot. And none of them are great for road tripping either, so it's just for around town. Yeah, Justice, what's your take on this?
Well, I think on the used credit, I think we both are saying that it's going to be a plug-in hybrid credit. That's really what it's going to end up being. Because you have a lot of actually some pretty good vehicles in that category, whereas the all electric, just 25,000. I don't see prices coming down either. Inflation and everything else, and the R word coming. I don't see us getting to $25,000 or sub $25,000 EVs as the mass market ever. So I think that credit is good for the plug-in hybrids. I like the models that they've chosen here on their graph. There's some attractive things in there. So I think that's where we'll end up going here.
Yep, I agree with you. I agree. If you guys are wondering what the requirements are for the revised EV tax credits for both new and used EVs, I'll drop a link into the comments below. But don't forget, for new EVs, they have to be made in America. And then there are other qualifications that are required as well. So we're not getting into that, Justice, because remember back in the days a few months ago when you and I would say, yeah, we're not going to just make the whole show about EV tax credits. And then I started rambling about it for like 15 minutes. Yeah, I'm getting better at resisting the temptation.
Yeah, there's so much to go into in that. And there's so much, and there's, lawsuits being filed from South Korea. You got the CEO of BMW saying the U.S. needs to rethink the whole strategy on battery minerals and sourcing and all that. So even if we talk about it, who knows what it's going to be in 3 months from now.
Yes. Yep, totally agree. And we've got some more viewers with us now live on the show. So if you're just joining us, the headline from Recurrent Auto's latest data on September used EV prices is that among used EVs that are 2017 to 2019 model years, there has been a modest decline in prices since July, around 2.9% decline. So now the average EV price on the used market for those model years is about $38,000. But the overall the overall used EV market, including every model year, remains very elevated at $42,700 for the average used EV. That's going to be anything from a 2008 Tesla to a 2022 that was flipped. Okay, because Justice and I just talked about flipping EVs and how it kind of screws up these numbers, doesn't it?
Yeah, it skews them a bit. I mean, I don't blame people for flipping them.
Yeah.
That's the market.
I could flip mine.
It was, so
I know.
could.
I know Igor in the chat saying I could flip mine. I know I could, but I
Yeah.
really like my car and I don't really want anything else. So I'm just gonna keep mine. Okay. Now, another bit of data from Recurrent Auto that I overlooked a few minutes ago that I really need to emphasize for everyone is the average age of electric vehicles that are being sold. This is interesting. It says the average age of a used combustion engine vehicle on the market is 6.5 years. However, used EVs tend to be much newer, with the average age for resale at just 4 years. Once again, that's the flippers in the market. But also, we can't ignore the fact that technology is improving, no matter what some people say. I mean, my Ioniq 5 charges in 20 minutes, whereas a 2016 Chevy Bolt's going to take an hour. So no matter what some people say, technology is improving, and that's going to bring more people back into the EV market to get something better and put their, dare I say, slightly outdated EV on the market as a used vehicle. And overall, that's a good thing, because we need to see more used EVs on the market to drive the price of used EVs down. We'll see what happens. I'm not feeling too confident about how low prices could go for used EVs. Not very low.
No, not very low. And as we talk about all the time, infrastructure is going to have to change.
Yeah.
And then then more people will start buying, and then you'll see a flood of cheaper used come on the market, but not until you have more multifamily units with charging capabilities.
Yep. And that stuff takes time. It's hard to make money installing chargers. That's a fact.
Yep.
Now, I wanted to share some data from YAA. This is new EV price trends from January 2020 to September of 2022. And you can see that it's way too premature to call this a plateau or a leveling off of EV prices, because we've seen this many times before. Take a look. I mean, you see a so-called plateau in the fall of 2020, a so-called plateau in late 2021, and a so-called plateau right now. But each time and time again, EV prices continue to rise. We've talked a lot about how raw material costs have skyrocketed for every EV that is built. That's going to be factored into how automakers price their new EVs. I still have hope that we'll have an awesome Chevy Equinox EV for under $40,000, but don't expect to buy a high-range, fast-charging EV for $30,000 in 2023. Just don't expect that to be the case. I wish it would be, but it's just too expensive to make EVs right now.
Too expensive to make most vehicles, yeah.
That is true, yes.
Especially EVs. But I like how each time it plateaus, the plateau is higher than the previous one.
Yep.
So
fascinating stuff. And this graph is accessible through our average EV price page on joinyaa.com. But if you scroll over it, you can start to see just how much prices have increased. In September, there was a slight decline from $66,500 in August to $65,300 in September. But in statistics, we like to say that is within the margin of error. That is a very, very small decline. We'll have to see what happens in October, November, and so on before we try to draw any conclusions. Fascinatingly, you can see how EV prices have remained about parallel with overall market averages. And that's kind of tragic, because I remember in, 2018, EV nerds like us, we were all talking about price parity that was to come. I mean,
yep.
Were you?
Yep, absolutely. And in 2018, that's what it looked like. It looked like, you get the manufacturing up enough and you get economy of scale, and we were going to be on parity. Now, doesn't look like it so much.
Nope. And you can blame raw material prices. You can blame the supply shortage when it comes to the chips. You can blame inflation. You can blame geopolitics. There's a whole bunch of excuses out there right now. But yeah.
All of the above.
Yeah. Hopefully this changes, but it's not changing anytime too soon. Sad.
Yeah.
But what else is on your mind, Justice?
Well, speaking of the infrastructure and getting affordable or more charging into multifamily and other economically depressed areas, Taco Bell just opened their very first fast charging EV store. So they've got a whole bunch of EV stalls. They opened last Tuesday, their first ones, and they want to get. Oh man, I just had the number. What is it? 2,000 charging stations among all their restaurants. Eventually,
That's cool. Hopefully, it's not just in California, which is naturally where the first ones are.
Yeah, well, I mean, A, EV, and B, the headquarters of Taco Bell. It makes sense that would be down in Orange County where they first started. So yeah, I mean, it's an interesting idea. I like the big chains going to this. If you're gonna stop and charge, and Taco Bell was that 30 minutes to sit, get your food, order, eat, and leave.
These days,
So you got,
yeah.
20,
Used to be
30
quicker.
minutes. Well, I mean, yeah.
yeah.
But I mean, figure eating time, assuming you're not Garfielding it,
Yeah.
So 20 minutes. So let's call it 20 minutes. That's a lot of range you can put into your EV while you're eating your Taco Bell.
Yeah, I'm looking here at an article on Business Wire or a press release about this. California's first Taco Bell that is electrified is now open, and it says that in 20 minutes, these ChargeNet stations, that must be the charging station operator, they can add about 100 miles of range in 20 minutes. So it's not like going to an Electrify America 350 kilowatt fast charger, but it is still pretty awesome. I'm a fan of this. It's not free though, and it says 100 miles of range in 20 minutes. That's going to cost you around $20. That's what ChargeNet says. Which, if you think about the economics of it, the cost of gas, it's okay, but still, it's pretty cool. And like you said, it's important for those who don't have access to home charging.
Yeah, so the more we get the Taco Bells and Starbucks and Targets and McDonald's, the more we start seeing those, and where you would go anyway, and you can just plug in. That really helps solve some of that, multifamily unit charging.
Interesting little detail I found in this article. So the ChargeNet stations being installed at Taco Bell and other places around the country, they are actually hardware produced by Tritium. Tritium is one of the top EV charging providers in Europe, I believe. Maybe not one of the top providers, but they're common in Europe. And Kyle Connor is a big fan of Tritium and what they're doing. Correct me if I'm wrong, Justice, but I'm pretty sure that's the case. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the European charging market.
I am not. I have watched his videos and just haven't picked up the names of who these people are yet.
Yeah, I've heard nothing but good things about Tritium. And why does that matter? Well, last night at Electrify America, saw that BMW iX, 2 out of the 4 stalls were offline. But I mentioned at the beginning of the show that there was something about that was actually a first, and this is a positive thing. Even though 2 of those 4 stalls at Electrify America were offline, here's the good thing. Electrify America finally decided to just turn them off. Like, turn the lights off on the offline stalls. Turn the lights off so that you don't park there and try to plug in only to realize the screen says unavailable. Duh, should have been doing that all along, but hey, 2 out of 4 stations, 50% uptime. Maybe Tritium can do better than that.
Yeah, it would be hard to believe you could do worse than that.
Yeah.
And then there's still the Tesla rumors coming out. They're going to be open by the end of the year. We'll see.
Well, I'll tell you what, Justice, if Tesla somehow does not open the supercharger network to the rest of us by, I don't know, by 2024, I might have to sell my Ioniq 5 and buy a Model Y, because Electrify America is just rough. I mean, maybe they'd improve by 2024, and I hope that they're working on it. I know that they're working on it. Kyle Connor was on our show about a month ago, and he said he shared some like insider info because he knows people at Electrify America. They're fixing the stations produced by ABB. It looks like the hardware sourced from ABB is the ones that those are the ones that are giving the most problems when it comes to Electrify America's network. So they're going through them systematically and replacing them. But will that be good enough? Only time will tell. I still just have the most hope in Tesla opening their network. I will pay them 69 cents a kilowatt hour. I'll pay them more if I need to. Not for $4.20 a kilowatt hour. That is too much.
No,
I will not pay that. But we'll see. We'll see.
yeah, I mean, they have to open up, or Electrify America has to do better. My question has been this whole time, with all these states, getting the money for the infrastructure to put in charging stations, how many are Electrify America? Like, who are
Mhm.
they partnering with to do them? Because I d- I certainly wouldn't want taxpayer money to go to charging stations that have a 50% uptime.
Yeah. That is something to think about because all of this
Mm,
federal funding that is going into the national charging network, $7.5 billion dollars. The government's not making and installing these chargers, they're soliciting bids. So
yeah.
that gives me some hope, some hope that it's not gonna be a complete disaster. I would be very scared if the government was responsible for making and installing these
Oh,
chargers, but they're just funding them.
no.
So
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
that is the silver lining, right? Um, yeah, maybe yeah, I don't know how much of these bids are gonna be awarded to Electrify America, to Tesla. That'd be awesome if Tesla just builds a
That,
bunch of chargers for billions of dollars, right?
that would be great. I would be perfectly fine with that. Or tritium, which I
Mhm.
did look up real fast. They just cut their ribbon on the first DC fast charging manufacturing facility in the United States in August.
Oh, where's it at?
So they're building here now. Well, I've got to click into the article, and they have also partnered with BP for 1,000 uh, fast chargers at the BP stations.
Oh, I recently stopped at a 62 kilowatt max. So it's technically a DC fast charger. Charging station at a BP gas station in North Carolina. It's pretty cool.
So they say their factories in Tennessee. They're not saying where in
Yeah,
Tennessee,
that's close enough. That's neat.
but
That's not too far from where I live.
I mean that's the battery belt, as they're starting to call it, right?
Yeah, battery built. Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah, that's right in there. So I mean that's great. And yeah, they're really big in Europe. So
Mhm. We'll wrap it up here in a few minutes, but I like this question from Learning Fast. Would it make me mad to see a Tesla charging at a CCS station? No, would not make me mad. But I know what would make a whole lot of Tesla drivers mad if they saw a 2017 Chevy Bolt charging at a supercharger station while there's a queue waiting to charge. That would make a lot of Tesla drivers mad, and that's a future that we're pretty close to if they open the network.
yeah,
Uh, you're going to have slow charging EVs taking up the stalls at some of the Tesla supercharger stations, and that's going to create some awkward situations. A lot of people are going to get dark tinted windows so they don't have to deal with the mean
Beep.
mugging Tesla drivers.
That's right. That's right. And already, if you go to Tesla stations, let's just say not all Tesla owners know etiquette very well.
Hmm.
There's already some issues. A lot of them pull up to the trailer chargers
Yeah,
that are
I
meant
know what you
for
mean.
people who are towing, and just pull up there with their car, and even though everything else is available. So etiquette's already a problem. Start getting everybody in there, it could get ugly.
Yeah, it's not Halloween yet, Stuart. Could the government make a less reliable charger than Electrify America?
Well,
It's all
hey,
about charger maintenance, how
yeah,
often the chargers are maintained. Tesla proactively does maintenance on their chargers before they break. I've spoken to Tesla service electricians, and that's what they do. That's what makes them so awesome. I'm not a huge Tesla stan. Okay, why am I heaping so much praise on Tesla? It's because their network works. It very rarely do you have offline stations on the Tesla supercharger network. Whether it's EVgo, Electrify America, or others, it's not the case for other networks, and I want those other networks to learn something from Tesla's success. I want the government
exactly.
to learn something from Tesla's success.
And may I say, I never ever count out the government and their ability to mess something up.
Same.
So absolutely, they could make it worse.
Yeah. Yep. Red tape, bureaucracy. Yep, we'll see what happens, but it is Wednesday. We'll be back on Friday with another live show. Something exciting to talk about, I'm sure, will happen by then. In the meantime, if you guys are interested in used EV prices, I'm going to drop a link to Recurrent Auto's awesome report right now in the chat this second before I forget. And I'll also add some links down in the comments if you're watching this later. And we also have a resource on joinyaa.com, keeping track month to month of new EV prices. It's kind of depressing, so don't get your hopes up. Prices staying pretty elevated, but we'll share these resources with you guys. Feel free to join us over at the Electric Vehicle Forum on joinyaa.com. We have thousands of people on our EV forum. Whether you're a newbie or an EV nerd like Justise and I, you're welcome. Okay, so bring your questions, bring your comments, bring your critiques. We would love to see you there. Justise, I'll see you Friday.
See you Friday.
All right. Well, thank you so much. See you.